I wanted to kind of go over where I see people playing, what positions I see them doing, and kind of responsibilities, and then go over phase play. We went over scrum yesterday, and it'll be a little bit easier for you to see it when you look at this video. So, with regards to position, front rows, Charles, Jason, Joey, Dakota, Tyler, Ross, and possibly Dominic at tight head. Where I see people playing Jason and Charles, probably alternating between hooker and tight head. Dakota and Tyler playing loose head. Joey also, I need to work him in loose head. Ross, when he gets his grades going, will also be loose head and possibly tight head. For 4, 5, and 8, those are your locks and your primary jumpers. Tristan, Joey, Steven, Andrew, and Scott. You'll notice that there are several names in several positions. We have to have the ability to be able to play different positions. Primary jumpers at this point are Tristan, Steven, Andrew, and I'd like to get Joey working there as well. Number 7, Chris Carey, Connor Moss, Dominic, and Charles. Number 6, Jason, Joey, Steven, and Andrew. The difference between 6 and 7 is essentially speed and tackling ability. The number 7s and number 6s have to be very good tacklers, but the number 7s have to be quicker. That's where I see those players. Working at scrum half, Connor, Tyler, and I'd also like to work Colin in there. With regards to other positions, we've got at number 10, Zach, Chris, and possibly Andrew. Number 12 and 13, those are your centers. You're crashing. Derek and Dominic, Connor. I'd also like to have a couple of larger players, larger athletes, playing that inside center, number 12. Joey and Dakota, I want to see you guys working there as well. 11, 14, and 15, these are going to be your faster wings and fullbacks. These guys have to be able to kick, and they have to be able to tackle well. Javon, I'm not sure what he's doing at this point. I know he's coming off of injury. Hopefully he'll be back. Thomas, AJ, Zach, Tyler, Aiden, and Colin. So you'll notice that there are multiple positions that you guys have been slated for, and we'll have to work through that. Okay, so what I want to kind of go over is responsibilities. Right now, we'll notice that we've got a scrum set up in this position here, right on the 15. Here's our scrum. Our tight head, hooker, loose head, 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, and our number 9. 11, 15, and 14 are our wings, and fullback is number 15. Let's assume we call an alpha series, and we'll call an alpha 21. So what happens is the ball comes in from number 9, who feeds it in, and the ball gets hooked back to number 8, who passes it to number 10. Number 10's got to catch this ball on a run. He's got to take at least 2 to 3 steps to draw in a defender this way. If he doesn't draw that defender in, all this defense is going to be able to do is drift, and that's not what we want. So this number 10 has got to freeze this player. And then he comes across, and because we're doing a 21, it's a 2-man, which in this case is the number 13. His running line is essentially running in this direction to receive the pass. This, again, we've been working on this for quite a while. He could receive this, he could not. Number 12 and number 13 are following in, number 12 and number 14 are following in support. And we read the space. What I wanted to go over is responsibilities for the next phase. So on this first phase ball, on set phase, number 7 and number 8, their responsibility is to get to this breakdown first. We have to provide this support. So let's assume that there's a tackle on the number 13. We've got 12 coming in to secure. We've got 14 coming in to secure. And we've also got 7 and 8 coming through to secure. And we'll create a ruck. Our goal is to create a ruck somewhere in midfield. So we've got a tackle ruck. Obviously, if our number 13 could get through the defense, that's great. Then we offload or we look for the pop pass and we continue to move out. But let's assume that there's a tackle and we move into second phase. So we've got number 7 and number 8 going into tackle. Okay, responsibilities. We can assume that number 6 is not going to go into this phase, nor is number 4 and number 5. Their responsibilities are for the next play. So here again we've got 12, 13, and 14 going into contact. We've got number 7 and number 8 providing clearance in that ruck. We move in again. So our scrum was essentially over here. Notice it now on this second phase ball. We've got 4 and 5 as our F1, F2. Okay. As our F3, we can have either our 3 or our 1. Doesn't matter which one. And for our next phase, we've got an attacking pod of our 6, who was over here. He's got to move out. And our number 2, and finally our number 15. And that creates our second phase. So let's assume that we're going to call on this next phase, we'll call a 10. Which means that once again our number 9 is going to distribute ball to number 10. Number 10 is going to take it 2 spaces up, and then he's going to come out this way. In this case, our 1 man would be number 6, who's going to take the scissor pass, boom, in here and looking for contact again. Number 2 and number 15 are following in support lines. We'll assume that there's a tackle again somewhere in this area. Okay, and it could be anywhere in this area. Number 4 and number 5 are going to come in and clear out in this ruck. And remember, 2 and 15 are also supporting, so we'll have another tackle at this spot. At this point, we've got 15, 6, and 2 that have gone into contact, supported by our forwards number 4 and number 5, and our 3 or our 1 players in F1. We don't want to waste this space. This is 15 meters of space. So when we're in situations like this, we can call an F1 or an F3 and provide this support. We want to get this, we want to use as much of this space as possible without going to our out of bounds line. So we might call an F1 here just to continue to create another breakdown. Notice that we've already got our next phase play set up. 12, 13, and 11, and our 14. Now let me back up just a bit, because our 15 is critical. In our first phase from set play, he's not involved in play. Okay, nor is our number 11. But in our next phase, our 15 moves to the wing, and our 11 moved into this space. It's critical that we have somebody in a defensive alignment as a deep cover in case things go awry. We've got somebody in that. So what ends up happening with our back 3, which is our number 11, our number 15, and our number 14. The non-attacking side is going to cover into this deep spot. So if we're moving from left to right, this wing would drop in when our 15 goes into phase. Notice that when we move from our second phase back to our third phase, or ahead to our third phase, our 15 is involved in the tackle. Our 14, who was in the previous play, moves back into defense because we're going to be flowing back in this direction. And our number 11 is now part of the attacking triad. And this is the way this will always go. Our 14s and 15s alternate between covering in deep 3 positions and attacking. It's critical that when 15 goes in, he pulls either 11 or 14 into his spot. We always need somebody covering this deep threat. Okay, so let's assume now that our 15 is not involved in it. Our number 14 has gone back to cover. And we can call an alpha phase. And once again, now anytime we can call a fox if our alpha phase isn't set up, we can call a fox. This guy is very important. Who's ever playing in at F3, you notice that we have him lined up in line with the number 10 across from him and behind the number 9. And we talked about this at practice yesterday. This number 10, at any time, he can take it up. And although we have an alpha called, this number 7 is going to stay in support because he may decide that there's space here, and this number 7, number 8 is going to take it up at that point. Let's assume he doesn't. Let's assume he continues with the alpha phase and we go into a, let's say a 32, which is the 3-man coming kind of in a straight position. The number 10 is going to take a couple of steps, step out, pass, and hit him. We've got number 13 and number 12 following in support. We've also got number 7 and number 8 following in support to create a nice ruck. What we need to do as a group is these first 3 phases of play are scripted. We know who's going to be where. So in our set phase from scrum, we know that number 7 and number 8 are going to be involved in the first phase tackle. We know that number 6 and number 2 are going to be our next attacking pod in alignment with number 15. So we'll practice these set plays. Once we get through the first 3 phases, if we get through the first 3 phases and continue to move, the defense will break. Okay. What I want to be able to do is for our set phase, and this goes for our fly half and who's ever calling attacking play. For our set phase, for our first, second, and third phases, we want alpha calls every time. We know who's going to be where. And that's our goal for this for the scrimmage coming up and for our scrimmage next week. We want to have alpha calls every time. Don't have to use them. We can always call fox if we have it, but our goal is to have a set phase scrum, a set phase tackle breakthrough every time. The reason why we're calling these alpha phases is so we can break a defense that's set. If the defense isn't set or if the defense is in scramble mode, we want to go hands out as quickly as possible. All right, so this is our goal for the next few weeks, is to work on these kind of scripted plays.